They stole her company, shattered her legacy, and left her for dead in a world she built. Now Alexandra Mitchell is back, armed with a phantom AI and a vengeance coded in silence, ready to take down the empire that betrayed her from the inside. Out! The leather seats of my father's Mercedes felt ice cold against my back. I sat in the dim birchlight of the parking lot at LeBlanc, San Francisco's most exclusive restaurant. Through the tinted windows, I watched impeccably dressed patrons step toward the ornate entrance, jewelry catching the glow from silver filigree fixtures. 20 minutes ago, I'd been walking toward those very doors, flanked by my father, mother, and siblings, decked out in the Chanel dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. But it wasn't the couture that had me stranded in the car. It was Dad's warning voice, low yet firm. Wait here. We need these investors, Alexandra, he'd hissed as he pressed a silk-clad hand to my arm. We can't risk anything going wrong, which, in his view, meant me. I glanced at my phone. 3 texts from Diana, my younger sister. How could you embarrass us like this? The Kingstons are here. Dad's trying to save the firm. You're being selfish again. I couldn't help the corner of my mouth turning up in amusement. If only they knew who truly owns Kingston Enterprises. Just then, another buzz. An email ping from my executive assistant. Kingston Enterprises acquisition papers are ready for final signing. The board meets in 30 minutes. Where are you? A smile curled over my reflection in the rearview mirror. Timing, as my father had always said, was everything in business. I stepped out, adjusted my Chanel, and walked through the crowd. The maitre d', Pierre, if I remembered, pulled a look of surprise. Miss Mitchell, your usual table is not available tonight. Pierre, I said without pause. My family's dining with the Kingstons. Recognition, irritation, and something else flickered across his face. Then, of course, right this way. His voice disguised that hint of concern. They were here already. As I approached, the scene froze like a photographic portrait. My father mid-pitch, wineglass tilted. Mom, perfect coiffure, but with a smile on the verge of slipping. Diana and Marcus both pressed into acidic silence. And there, across the table, Richard Kingston Sr., CEO of Kingston Enterprises, rising from his seat, expression bewildered. Madame. President, he said, bowing ever so slightly, voice tight. Richard, I answered with calm precision. The room exhaled. I strode to the seat at the head of the table, Dad's usual place. Hope I'm not interrupting. Tension spiked. Alexandra, Dad's voice wavered. I gave a polite nod. Joining my family for dinner and meeting with my SIO. What's happening? Marcus snarled. Your SIO, I repeated through the silence. Richard's eyes widened. The rest of the table stiffened, Mom's voice laced in ice. They don't know. No. I reached into my Hermes bag, slid a thin folder across the glossy oak tabletop towards Dad. These finalize the acquisition of Kingston Enterprises. I just need your signature, Richard. His hand moved to sign, but Dad slammed it away. What is this? I let my gaze sweep the table. Business, something you all taught me well. The silence was shattered by my words. I started to speak, then paused, letting the weight settle before revealing everything. The roots of this confrontation, of everything, took hold long before this night. Growing up, Mitchell meant dinners filled with talk of equities, leveraged buyouts, and legacy. Dad had turned his father's firm into a powerhouse. Marcus and Diana had been groomed as successors, but I watched the world change. Where they saw stock charts, I saw algorithms. While they debated corporate bonds, I explored blockchain. I had pitched the old firm, nearly at 16, on algorithmic investment platforms, but Dad shut me down. Stick to real investments, he'd said. So I left, trust fund in hand, rebellion in my heart. I started small, investing quietly in tech startups. Within 2 years, my returns had outperformed Dad's firm by 300%. Fear of family backlash drove me to operate only through shell companies, AM Holdings. No one knew who stood behind this shadow empire until now. Kingston Enterprises, the very company my dad had courted tonight, was quietly being acquired by AM Holdings, controlled by me, for months. Marcus's voice rattled the silence. You can't afford this. You don't have the resources. Opportunity spread across my chest like sunshine. Oh, I did. I slid sales sheets across the table. I've been investing in the future while you all clung to the past. When Dad, white-faced and trembling, glanced at the documentation, I quoted for effect, "Remember when you told me I didn't understand real business?" No answer. Across the table, Richard nodded. Her company's value has tripled. Mom's composure cracked. You threw all this away. I built this, I said steadily, while you were protecting a legacy that was dying. Then Pierre brought champagne. I raised my glass. What happens now? Dad asked. I sipped slowly. Now we discuss the future of Mitchell Investment Group. I left Leblanc with the city, lights behind me, drunk on quiet victory. By midnight, my phone vibrated with 37 missed calls from my family. News outlets had tracked the unmasking of AM Holdings. My transformation from rebellious daughter to corporate tsunami had gone global. The Shah. Next morning, I sat in my 50th floor penthouse office, once Kingston Tower, now renamed Mitchell Innovation Center. The fog curled under the Golden Gate Bridge like wisps of half-dreams. My phone buzzed continuously. Family, board members, analysts clamoring for comment. Your brother is in the lobby demanding to see you, announced Arya, my AI executive. Assistant, I checked the security feed. Marcus, ragged, exhausted, hair disheveled, stood there, not at all his polished managing director self. Let him in, I said, and pull up the latest valuation for Mitchell Investment Group. Moments later, Marcus stormed in, clutching a newspaper titled Titan. Alexandra Mitchell reveals identity. AM Holdings acquires Kingston Enterprises. How long have you been plotting this? He demanded, pitching the paper across my desk. He dropped into the chair. Don't patronize me, he muttered. The holographic screen lit up, graphs showing client losses, performance decline. I typed commands. Look, I said. You've been bleeding clients. The firm's been on the decline for 3 years. I built an empire using AI, blockchain, predictive analytics. Tradition doesn't make money anymore. Diana arrived. Next, designer heels clacking on marble, eyes wide at the tech-filled room. Impressive, she said carefully. Sit, I gestured. I was ready to bridge the chasm. I turned to both siblings. This is what I tried to bring to the firm. This is why I left. I didn't set out to destroy anything. I wanted to build something better. They absorbed the room's data streams, real-time predictions, live trade feeds, market projections. You have my attention, Diana said quietly. Marcus's voice was small. What do you want? I walked to the grand windows overlooking the sunrise. I want to save Mitchell Investment Group. The office door opened. Dad stepped in, older, visibly conflicted, the unwavering patriarch shaken. He placed a folder on the desk. Your proposals, he said softly. Everything you pitched over the years, I kept. I didn't move, he said, voice wavering. I was wrong, not you, Diana chimed in, genuinely curious. Then what's next? I pulled up another screen. Integrate, modernize, retrain. Marcus stood abruptly. But I'm managing director. Dad interrupted him. Succession plan? Wrong. He looked at me. It's time. I clicked to bring up the contracts. Here's the plan. Mitchell becomes a subsidiary of AM Holdings. AI systems are implemented. All teams retrained. And I paused, letting the words land. Our family hierarchy goes away. Silence. Sunlight streamed through the panoramic window. Diana signed first. Teach me about blockchain, Marcus followed. I want to understand gradient models. Dad, defeated and hopeful, stepped forward. Time to let go. 6 months later, I watched Marcus present his first AI-driven strategy. Diana had transformed client relations. Dad was no longer chairman, but an advisor. The old sign had been replaced. In place of Mitchell Investment Group stood Mitchell Innovation Group, a subsidiary of AM Holdings. My phone buzzed. Family dinner tonight. Your choice. I smiled. Everyone has a seat this time. Because the best revenge wasn't destruction. It was a transformation. A year had passed since Alexandra Mitchell stunned the business world. AM Holdings had merged with Mitchell Investment Group, ushering in a golden age of tech-driven finance. On the 70th floor of the Mitchell Innovation Center, Alexandra stood before 300 guests at the Global Tech and Finance Summit. She wore a deep navy pantsuit, her trademark red lips forming a smile that dared to command a room. Her voice carried not just confidence, but warning. The future doesn't wait for legacy. It rewards adaptability and courage. Applause thundered. But as she stepped off stage, her assistant Aria buzzed in her ear. Security breach detected. Executive floor, West Wing. System offline for 11 minutes. Her jaw tightened. Get Marcus, now. In her glass-walled office, Alexandra stared at her frozen AI system. On the wall screen blinked a single sentence. The fall always comes after the rise. Marcus entered, stunned. What the hell is this? An infiltration, she muttered. And a message. He scanned the logs. It's surgical. Someone knew exactly where to hit. Her mind flashed to a rumor she had ignored. A rival firm, recruiting rogue insiders. But it wasn't just business. It felt personal. The next morning, the financial news exploded with headlines. Blackwell & Sons announces Phoenix Project, AI-driven investment model, poised to challenge AM Holdings. Grayson Blackwell, former hedge fund prince exiled from Wall Street for insider dealings. A snake with charm and an agenda. Alexandra knew him well, too well. They'd once shared an affair so volatile it nearly derailed her early empire. Now he was back. And he wanted revenge. A mysterious invite arrived, a gala for elite investors at the Vesper Club. Alexandra knew the sender, Grayson's signature red wax seal, embossed with a serpent around a coin. Against Marcus's protests, she attended. Inside, the gold-lit ballroom, champagne flowed and cameras flashed. And there, standing under a glistening chandelier, was Grayson, tall, confident, and still dangerous. He kissed her hand. You always liked the game. Now we're playing it again. She leaned closer. You're 11 months too late. He smirked. Then why are you here? Before she could answer, he whispered, Your AI has a weakness. Ask yourself how I know. Back at HQ, Alexandra called an emergency meeting. Diana presented evidence. Small discrepancies in AM Holdings' secondary data stream. Delays, false patterns. The conclusion was chilling. Someone inside is feeding intel to Blackwell. She stared at the list of potential suspects. One name stuck out. Lucas Dale, new lead software architect, hired through an anonymous referral. Marcus frowned. He was on the West Wing during the breach. Bring him in, Alexandra ordered. But when they went to find Lucas, his desk was wiped. No files, no trace, just a note on his keyboard. We told you not to play queen without a board. Despite the storm, Alexandra's heart tangled with old feelings. One evening, Grayson intercepted her at her private art gallery. I know you think I'm the enemy, he said, brushing his hand near hers. But what if I'm the storm that clears your sky? She should have walked away. But instead, she whispered, and what if I'm the fire that burns your illusions? What followed was a night wrapped in shadows, biting kisses, whispered promises, buried regrets. Morning found her alone, on her mirror. I never stopped wanting to win you, or beat you. The battle had just turned personal again. Alexandra returned to the boardroom like a thunderclap in heels. Here's our counter, Project Griffin. We launch our AI prediction platform for public beta in 14 days, not 60. We crush the Phoenix project before it launches. Marcus balked. It's not ready. We need simulations, market feedback. We need a win, she snapped. Diana backed her. I'll lead the beta team too. Let's make it surgical. 3 days before launch, disaster struck. All screens. At HQ went black. Every employee device displayed. The fall always comes after the rise. Grace and chaos broke out. Clients panicked. Servers overheated. In her war room, Alexandra stood still, studying the patterns. She saw something, intentional irregularities like breadcrumbs. "He's not just hacking," she whispered. "He's baiting us." Late that night, Alexandra caught Diana sneaking into the server room, a tablet in hand. Her expression, guilt and fear. "Diana," Alexandra said, stepping out of the shadows. Her sister froze. "I had to," she whispered. "He offered me a seat, a controlling interest, if AM Holdings collapsed." Alexandra's voice shook. "You were supposed to rebuild this with me. I thought I could control it, until he used it against me." Alexandra's heart broke and hardened. "You've given him access. You're the breach." Alexandra gathered her top team. "We launch Griffin now. Grayson wants destruction, so we show him rebirth." "But the breach," Marcus started. "We let him think he's won," she said. "We leak a fake collapse to bait him. When he strikes, we counter with Griffin." Diana spoke softly. "Let me help fix what I broke." Alexandra looked into her sister's eyes. One last chance. They executed the plan, crafted false financial ruin, embedded decoy data trails. Grayson took the bait. But just before launch, a courier delivered a glass box to Alexandra's office. Inside, a chess queen, shattered, and a note, "Checkmate. Isn't always at the end." Her phone buzzed. Griffin's servers were failing. "Emergency lockdown," she shouted. The walls of her empire were crumbling again. The executive war room was in full lockdown. Red lights flashed. Griffin's AI systems were spiraling into collapse. Financial news outlets were already reporting AM Holdings as on the verge of an unprecedented tech failure. Alexandra stood in the eye of the storm, eerily calm. Her eyes flicked across the screens, data streams, breach points, and a blinking overlay. "Ghost protocol active." "Ghost protocol?" Marcus asked. "An unreleased protocol I coded myself after the Troy scandal," Alexandra replied. "It simulates an AI collapse and cloaks the real architecture beneath it." "You planned this?" "I always plan for betrayal," she said, her voice colder than steel. "Especially from family." Diana entered, pale and trembling. "He thinks it's real. Grayson's moving to acquire your board votes. He wants control before the public crash." Alexandra stared her down. "You were the breach. Why would I believe you now?" "Because I'm done playing pawn," Diana said. "He used me to break you. Now I'll help you burn him." A long silence passed between them. Alexandra finally said, "Then sit down. You're in this war until the end." The next morning, news spread fast. AM Holdings to sell all intellectual property to Blackwell and Sons amid collapse. Grayson Blackwell was photographed shaking hands with financial delegates. Behind closed doors, he toasted with champagne. "We've won," he declared. But what he didn't know, the code he was acquiring had already been overwritten. The sale. Documents were real, but the technology was fake. An outdated sandbox version of Griffin riddled with tracking code and logic bombs, 2 weeks earlier. In a dark coding lab beneath the Mitchell Innovation Center, Alexandra, Marcus, Diana, and a hand-picked team worked silently. Alexandra laid out the vision. "We create a shadow Griffin, impossible to trace, invisible even to internal staff. All visible systems lead to the decoy. The moment Blackwell deploys what he thinks is Griffin, it detonates, publicly." Marcus added, "And while he's wiping egg off his face, we release the real Griffin live to the market." Alexandra. "Exactly, Queen's Gambit." 2 days later, the world watched as Blackwell and Sons unveiled Phoenix AI, their answer to AM Holdings' Griffin. Financial analysts cheered. Then, chaos. Phoenix's code broke live on stage. Screens turned to static. Stock projections reversed. Violently. And then a broadcast went live. Globally. Hacked into all major financial networks, Alexandra Mitchell appeared on screen. For those watching, this is what happens when you steal. You get nothing. Behind her, Griffin launched in real time, working flawlessly. Markets soared in her favor. Blackwell and Sons stock nosedived. Grayson's face was caught in live feeds, white with rage and humiliation. Within 24 hours, regulators opened investigations into Blackwell and Sons. Anonymous leaks, courtesy of Diana, revealed their internal bribery trails. The SEC froze their assets. Their AI platform was labeled fraudulent. Grayson confronted Alexandra in the remains of his penthouse. "You think you've won?" "No," she said, standing over him. "I know I did." He reached for her wrist, desperate. "You still love me, somewhere inside." She leaned in. "No. That woman died the day you used me as a stepping stone," and she walked out, heels echoing like gunfire. Weeks passed. AM Holdings became the dominant AI financial system worldwide. Alexandra rebuilt, her board with carefully vetted allies. The media called her the Iron Queen of Tech. Diana resigned quietly, seeking her redemption. Alexandra let her go, but not without a warning. "We're blood, but trust is earned, not inherited." Marcus, ever loyal, was promoted to COO. Alexandra returned to her childhood home, the estate where her father once told her, "Women don't belong in boardrooms." She stood in the marble foyer, now empty. She'd purchased the house anonymously at auction. She whispered to herself, "Now they do." Then she set the deed on fire. On a rainy Manhattan night, she sat in her corner office, sipping scotch. Envelope arrived. No name, no return address. Inside, a single chess piece. The king, with a card. "Next game?" She smiled, then turned to her digital assistant. "Initiate Project Bastion." The war was over, but the world would always need queens willing to make the first move. Years later, Alexandra Mitchell's name was etched into the Foundation for Ethical AI Governance. Her system, Griffin, was credited with democratizing wealth predictions for underserved communities. A young intern once asked her, "Didn't it hurt? Losing everything? Betrayal? Family?" Alexandra answered, "Everything I lost taught me how to win. And when you learn to play the long game, you stop fearing the sacrifices." She smiled, and somewhere in a dark corner of the world, a new game was starting. But Alexandra Mitchell was ready.